Okay, this is another video where it's called 5 Questions from 2 Christians for Atheists by Epydemic2020. So I thought I would do this one too. Maybe I'll just go through all the videos where people are asking questions to atheists because it's fun. So here we go.
Hey YouTube, we're Christians and we have 5 questions for atheists. Hopefully this will help us better understand where you guys are coming from.
Hopefully.
Alright, let's get right to it.
Okay.
The first question is fairly common, but the answers are always interesting.
Question 1. What kind of evidence would it take for you to believe in God?
Well, I think that he would actually, or it, or she, or whatever, would actually have to come down here and make himself or itself known on some level. You know, I don't know. End world hunger, create, peace like, we've never experienced before. Get rid of war, something, I don't know, do something to where there's not suffering in the world and, of innocent people and, eradicate evil, but see that, goes back to the whole, what is your definition of a God? What should a God be like? And one of those things, and, there's quite a few things, but, a God should not be capable of making mistakes. And in my mind, those things indicate mistakes. Just like when he had to eradicate the whole world with a flood because people were so hell-bent on evil, and like he had to do a do-over. This is supposed to be God, So anyway, let's carry on. I'm going to try to be brief about these.
Not what would be a good start, but what evidence would actually convince you?
Well, like I said, what evidence would actually convince me is he would actually have to be here, I don't know, performing miracles or something. Something, where it was right in front of your eyes and you could maybe even scientifically, quantify that such a thing exists, to where it was undeniable, and I guess that would be it. However, I have to put this little disclaimer on here. I just recently did a video about atheists and what they feel about ghosts, like paranormal activity, and what their take on that is, and even the alien or UFO phenomenon, how they feel about that, and how their decision on what they believe with regards to those things is, how they derived those decisions versus how they derived that God is not real or that they don't believe in God. Because sometimes I think there can be some hypocrisy there, but I've had my own experience with things like that, and a lot of times, there's been incidences that have happened with, regarding the paranormal in my own personal life, and that seemed to other people that were with me at the time to be undeniable, but yet I still deny it. So, it's for me to say that if God came down and performed a miracle right in front of me, or did something to, show that he or it or she was God, I still might deny it, because I guess I'm highly skeptical of, my own human objectivity when it comes to knowing what is truth and what is not. I'm highly skeptical of that, because we as human beings have reasons to want to believe things or not believe things. We're easily lied to. We're very susceptible to a lot of that kind of thing. So I think you always have to be rational and logical and objective about even things that you see with your own 2 eyes. So.
And when we say God, we're talking about a mind which is all-loving, all-powerful, meaning he can do everything but the logically contradictory, all-knowing, and eternal.
Okay, well, all those things that you just said, I have decided based off of your God's doctrine, the Bible, that he is none of those things, which is a big part of the reason why I'm an atheist. So, all-loving, smoting whole villages and innocent people. Read the book of Job. Let's just start with Job. And, I have some questions for you at the end of this, too, so maybe we can go into that there.
Question 2. Is there anything that I can do that could possibly convince you that God exists?
There's nothing that you could do to do that, no. Unless you or some archaeologist or something, or you come across some kind of evidence that humanity hasn't discovered yet that somehow in some way is just there's no way that there can't be a God after we see this evidence or examine this evidence. Well, then maybe. If you have something like that. And if you do, let me know, because I'd like to see it.
Like, would any argument we could make have the potential to persuade you?
No argument you can make would. And believe me, I've argued with a good lot of Christians. And, I mean, I used to be a Christian person myself who used to argue, your case, who used to argue for God, I mean, vehemently. And I made some good arguments, and I think I was rather good at that kind of thing. But looking back on it now, it's quite embarrassing, because I realized that what I was arguing was just from I was very dogmatic in what I believed, and not being very open-minded about it. I thought I was, and I always think that I'm being very, keeping myself in check about that, but it's very easy to get, depending on what's going on in your life at the time and everything else, it's very easy to be swept up in, just, believing what the majority believes, or believing what your parents believed, or not investigating it enough to know what you really deep down in your heart believe, and I think that was the problem. So, I mean, once you do that, I think it makes a big difference.
Question 3. If you realized that an all-loving God existed, would you desire to have a relationship with him?
If he was all loving, probably.
If you said yes to that question, would you want to have a relationship with him just to get into heaven, or for some other reason?
Well, unlike most Christians who I think do have a relationship with him, and I use the word relationship loosely, who go to church every Sunday and kind of, make this appearance of being Christian or whatever. And a lot of times, honestly, and I hate to be rude or anything, but I think it's insincere. I think it's just a show of, look, I'm a Christian, and a lot of times they haven't even read the Bible. I think that's the biggest, most telling thing about any religion, is a lot of them don't even really study their own religion. And I think if you're going to be very dogmatic about any particular religion, you should look at all the religions also. Make sure that, what you're believing or whatever is what you really believe, and it's the best thing, because there's a lot of religions out there. So.
Question 4. Have you ever met a Christian who lives their life in such a way that it is clear that they really believe in an all-loving God?
Wow. Have I ever met a Christian that it's clear that they really believe in an ever-loving God? There's maybe some children that are Christians that I could say maybe they really believe that, like, how kids believe in Santa Claus. But I don't think that they have a full picture of it. I don't think that, obviously kids usually haven't read the whole Bible. They've heard the biblical stories maybe and stuff and think, oh, God and this. But I think for the most part, if you're talking about the Christian God, mostly it's fear. It's fear-based if you look deep down into it. So I can't say I've ever met a Christian that I really believed, sincerely thought that the God that they are worshiping or that they believe in is loving. Sure, they will make that argument and they will profess that and they will defend that. Oh, he's love, and, but I think it's really just a form of denial. Either denial or lack of knowledge about the God that they supposedly, are claiming to worship. They're claiming to be Christian, but they don't really consider or even try to understand what it is that they're believing. They don't even look into it a lot of times.
Meaning they live a life which is impressively kind, loving, and selfless.
I don't believe any human being is really capable of kind, loving, and selfless. I think some people are definitely nicer than others, and but I can't necessarily say that people that I've met that were really loving and kind were Christians. In fact, I would say quite the opposite.
And question 5. Has the presence or lack of that type of Christian had any impact on your atheism?
Yes, quite a bit. But more than the lack of, good, kind people who are, supposedly living the example, walking the walk, talking the talk, as you Christians put it. More so than not finding a lot of Christians like that, because I've had conversations like with my one sister who is also kind of an atheist, I guess you would say. That's one of her biggest complaints is that Christians should be just all happy all the time, and yeah, they might have problems or whatever, but they shouldn't be so like looking for evil, pointing out hate, judging people, all these things that typically we see Christians doing. They should be just happy as crap compared to everybody else. Sadly, that's not the case. But bigger part of the reason why I became an atheist wasn't because of that. It was because of all the negative stuff that comes from not just Christianity, but religion as a whole, like fanaticism and judgmentalism and racism. I mean, and go on and on. Most of the wars that have ever happened are based on religion and dogmatic, ideologies and stuff like that. I think it's toxic. I think it's brainwashing. It's basically a brainwashing that, we're supposed to believe that this is, really how it is. And it's like, it's no different than if they were to, you were to be born into a country that believed that, unicorns existed and you have to worship unicorns.
Feel free to make a video response and answer some or all of these questions.
And
as always, test everything, hold on to the good.
Test everything, hold on to the good. Good advice. Okay, anyway, I have 5 questions for you. And I asked this in another video response that I did to questions for atheists from, who was it? Golden Gun something. It was Golden Gun 85. I did a response to him similar, and I asked him the same 5 questions. Have you read the Bible cover to cover? What is your definition of a God? Is it moral to punish someone for what they believe or do not believe? Are God and Jesus the same thing? Spirit, entity, whatever you want to call it. Is God and Jesus the same thing, in your opinion? Why are you Christian, or whatever religion you are, but you guys said Christian. Why are you Christian as opposed to any other religions? What makes Christianity, in your mind, right or accurate compared to other religions? Thanks.